Welcome to the Yeah We Know podcast, part of the Morgan Knows Podcasting Network, and you will hear our actual show after this, but we had some big news today. Hulk Hogan dies at 71. If you're listening to this, I'm sure you know already that has happened. And, the four of us just kind of wanted to sit down and chat just for a few minutes about Hulk Hogan, what he means to us. Chris and Rod are with us as always, and then Cleveland Cripplers here as well. I just want to start off, guys, by saying it's interesting how a lot of the people that we listen to, podcast-wise, we've all kind of come up with the same idea or the same way to go about this, where Hulk Hogan dying is a very sad, and it stinks because he is the reason why pretty much everybody is here right now. Terry Bollea, the person, still scum, not good at all. But he's got a family, and he's got kids, and we want to just make sure that we, reach out to them. So we're separating right now the person he became, and maybe even behind the scenes person to the person that I grew up with. Ever since WrestleMania 3, I've enjoyed the Hulk Hogan experience throughout everything, no matter what. When he hulked up, it was the greatest moment ever. When he turned heel, it was the worst moment ever. That turned into one of the greatest moments ever. So yeah, it's a sad day, Rod. Sad day at all.
Yeah, I think that's well put by you, right? It's one of those things that we forget about an awful lot in this game of watching and loving professional wrestling the way that we do, is that these guys are still just playing characters, right? And that can mean good and it can mean bad, right? Terry Bollea is a guy maybe we all didn't want to hang out with in real life, but the character that he played on TV ended up becoming the most important person in professional wrestling television history, right? You can make some arguments about some other people that started out, right? Some behind the scenes folks that you and I don't know, but there's no doubt that the most important person that ever appeared on camera that allowed professional wrestling to get to the point where it is here in 2025 was Hulk Hogan. Because Hulk Hogan appeared on camera way before Vince McMahon did, right? And Vince McMahon was behind the scenes. So if you have no Hulk, you have no blonde hair, you have no 7 foot tall, which we all know he wasn't 7 foot tall. You have no 300 pounds, which we all know he wasn't quite 300 pounds, right? But he seemed larger than life. He had charisma, and it just worked, right? It was a simpler time in the 80s, and Hogan had all the ingredients we needed, and I bought it hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, Chris, back in the 80s when you were 30, 35, did you have a different aspect or different thoughts about Hulk Hogan?
That's back when, I'll be honest, if it wasn't for the Hulkster, I probably wouldn't be a wrestling fan, just like you said, right? Because if it wasn't for that Saturday morning cartoon, right, where I got to see Hulk Hogan and his crew save the day against Rowdy and the Iron Sheik just about every week, I don't think I would have been inclined to even watch the Saturday night main events, the Friday night fights that were going on, right? So he is a big reason. Even if I wasn't necessarily a Hulk fan, I wasn't a Hulkamaniac, I was definitely a bigger fan of Roddy Piper, right? Definitely
you always like the bad guys. Yeah.
But you don't get that type of reach without somebody like Hogan. And as crappy as maybe he has been outside the ring, that work inside the ring, we can still mourn that loss, right? And that's what we're doing. We're going to mourn that loss because that's important to us.
It is. The Cleveland Crippler rejoins us, and sorry, it couldn't have been on better notes here, buddy. But what are some thoughts you've had on Hogan?
Well, I'm going to echo what Chris said. He's the reason why I got into wrestling, why I started watching Saturday night's main event, watching the stuff on Saturday mornings even, where I fell in love with him and like a team like the Road Warriors. It was all new. It was all different. And it's probably the same sentiment as you'll hear all over the world. Without him, I'm not watching wrestling. And without him, there's a lot of things that I'm not interested in. I'm not going to watch crappy B movies. I'm not going to watch things like that. So may he rest in peace. As a wrestler, may he rest in peace.
So you're not running out to rewatch Suburban Commando?
No.
I'm watching No Holds Barred, though. No Holds Barred was fantastic to this day.
I really thought about throwing on Mr. Nanny because I saw that on one of my feeds. So I was like, maybe.
Oh, I forgot about Mr. Nanny.
They took a character from a movie. The guy in the movie was an actor who was short, by the way, and made him a giant and made him a person who fought Hulk Hogan on a pay-per-view. I mean, crazy that's where we were, because it would never happen now where you have stars fighting on pay-per-view. Like, who does that, right?
Yeah, who shows up at every PLE and has the belt? You know what I mean? Like, we had his name in the wrestling parlance recently, right? We all thought that Roman Reigns was going to go for the Hogan record and didn't quite get there, did not quite get there. So that's one thing that Hulk still has, right? The next time somebody has a really, really long run, which we've talked about before, I don't know that we'll ever see somebody have that long of a run ever again. So Hogan may get the chance to have that one be forever etched in the wrestling record books as his record. So I find it kind of amazing when you look back on Hogan, right? And you watch all of the early Hogan matches. You think to yourself, what was it about Hogan that got me? You know what I mean? Because it's hard, at least for me, to switch from what I like in wrestling now and what I liked in wrestling then, right? And all I can think about is what I like in wrestling now, and what Hulk Hogan was in the 80s. It's not what I like about wrestling now. So it's just like, it's that nostalgia. It's just like wishing back for a time when you were a kid and things were simpler. I don't necessarily know that it's Hogan's wrestling ability. I think it's just what Hogan represents, Jimmy, if that makes any sense.
Well, think about all the people that we wouldn't have been able or been, open to seeing if it wasn't for Hogan, right? I'm with you, Rod. Like, I wasn't a Hogan fan. I thought his matches were almost all exactly the same for the most part, except for, like, the big ones, the pay-per-views and whatnot. But if it wasn't for him, I don't know who Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Coco Beware, the Junkyard Dog, the Hart Foundation, Brett, everybody, right? How many people do we not know then if it's not for somebody like Hogan who can reach further than wrestling fans into mainstream, all right? Thunderlips, Rocky 3, you don't get bigger than that.
So there are three moments that I remember Hogan for sure. Number one, they're all happened on Saturday Night's Main Event. Hogan and Orndorff in that steel cage match where they both hit the floor at the same time. As a kid, you have no idea what's going on there. That was terrific. That was a great feud. That was something that could have been a WrestleMania 3 feud. I thought that was terrific. Speaking of WrestleManias and things like that, Saturday Night's Main Event between Hogan and Andre, where Hogan loses to Andre the Giant because there's a second referee. It's so unique that they had twins there, right? But I think one of my favorite ones is the forming of the Mega Powers. When Honky Tonk Man takes that guitar and destroys Savage, Elizabeth is thrown to the ground. Her strap comes off. She's crying. She runs to the back. No one had any idea what was going on. And then Hogan comes out and does that, and points at the ring, goes in, forms the Mega Powers, and goes off. So, some great memories to think about right now, Rod, you got anything?
I was on mute there. My God. Jimmy, we'd be remiss if we did not mention the Pontiac Silverdome. The Pontiac Silverdome, Detroit, Michigan, WrestleMania 3, when Hogan body slams Andre. I mean, when I was a kid, I literally thought it was not possible. I knew who Andre was. I knew who Hogan was. I was excited as all get out, right? When Andre took the necklace off of him, right? And Mean Gene standing there in a complete stupor. I had no idea what we were about to see. Never in a million years did I think we were going to see Hulk Hogan slam Andre the Giant. So I just remember my head almost exploding as a kid when that happened. And then Hogan getting on the motorized cart that rolled him all the way back from the ring to the way they did it in the Silverdome. That was good stuff, man. That's my favorite Hogan memory.
Okay. Crippler.
Mine has to be his...
Crippler, you got anything good? Yeah.
Where he got the belt from the Iron Sheik. Yeah, it's the Iron Sheik match where he got the belt after Sheik won the belt from Bob Backlund. That's what got it for me, because you had the American versus the Iranian, and you had good versus evil, and Hogan just lit up, did the pointing, the leg drop, and that's kind of what really cemented the memory for me, was all that.
Okay. And then, Chris, how about you? I know you just started watching wrestling last week, so do you have any Hogan memories?
My favorite Hulk Hogan in-ring moment, and I like Anarchy, it's when he joined the NWO. I know that's WCW, but think of remember the shock waves that went through wrestling when he turned and became the member of the NWO. It was
Hogan is the
unheard
third
of
man.
Hulk,
Hogan is the third man.
right? It was insane. Everybody was talking about it. We were in Muncie, and that was the talk of the town. All right.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what started the whole wrestling war and what became a gigantic wrestling. So he's been a part of it all. And his last time on WWE was Saturday Night's Main Event getting booed because of All American Beer or Real American Beer or whatever that is. I will tell you this: the video package that starts off SmackDown will not get booed. It will get cheered. The video package on Raw will be the same, and it'll be a really nice time to reminisce about that because it's Hulk Hogan. We will miss Hulk Hogan, and we wish everyone who actually knew him personally the very best. Anything else before we wrap up, gentlemen?
Homework assignment. You can find on YouTube. You can find the Raw the night after Hogan wrestled The Rock. And he comes down to the ring still in his NWO stuff, and the crowd just absolutely pops. And there's 2 minutes where everybody's there. We're not worthy. They're cheering him. They're screaming. Hogan can't say anything for 2 minutes. Like if you wanna feel that nostalgia, that kick, that hit in the pit of your stomach, look up when Hogan came out on Raw after fighting The Rock, and that place goes absolutely ballistic. Hogan almost sheds a tear because he can't even believe it. Because at that time, he wasn't sure if he was going to be back in the good graces of the WWE fans, and they embraced him warmly, and he went back to the red and yellow for a little while. And so that's a moment I watched a couple of times today.
100%. And with that, you've been listening to the Yeah We Know podcast, part of the Morgan Knows Podcasting Network. In the ring with Jimmy, Chris, Rod, and the Crippler.
Goodbye, Hulkster.